Hi, good evening. I'm Dwane Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, a San Diego man is the first to be released from prison under California's revised three strikes law.
And I'm Peggy Pico. An early Thanksgiving means more days for holiday shopping. We'll find out how that could impact our economic future. Plus, the Marine Room's executive chef Bernard Guillas shares his secrets and recipes for a spectacular Thanksgiving meal.
And if you've ever driven across the border into Tijuana, you've seen vendors selling plaster piggy banks. We'll have a look inside this longtime border business. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. A San Diego man is the first to be resentenced under California's revised three strikes law. Voters approved the change earlier this month. It limits life sentences to convictions for serious or violent offenses. 61-year-old Kenneth Corley was sentenced to 25 years to life in 1996 for a drug charge. Today, his sentence was reduced to 15 years with credit for time served.
No violent offenses. It's basically a guy who had a drug addiction and committed a lot of property crimes and got sentenced to prison for the rest of his life as a result.
We will do everything we can to ensure that the appropriate people are released and the people who do represent a danger stay inside.
3,000 inmates are eligible for resentencing under the new law. Philanthropist and former San Diego Union Tribune owner David Copley died last night in a car accident. KPBS senior editor Mark Sauer joins us from the News Center with more on the story. Mark, what else can you tell us about the death of Copley?
He apparently had a heart attack while driving. He crashed his Aston Martin into a parked car near his La Jolla home. David Copley underwent a heart transplant in 2005 after suffering heart disease for many years.
And he sold the UT 3 years ago, ending the family's long ownership. What was the contribution that he made to the paper?
David took over as publisher in 2001 when his mother, Helen Copley, retired. She died in 2004 at age 81. Under his watch, the Union Tribune won the Pulitzer Prize in 2006 for exposing the corruption of Republican Congressman Randy Duke Cunningham.
And he also continued the Copley family tradition of philanthropy. Remind us about the projects the family supported.
Well, from Copley Symphony Hall, Copley Plaza in Balboa Park, San Diego's many museums, the Copley Telecommunications Center that houses KPBS, the family certainly left its stamp. And David Copley personally loved the arts, backing Broadway musicals and chairing the board of a Museum of Contemporary Art in La Jolla.
And Mark, how do you think David Copley will be remembered by folks who worked at the paper?
A hands-off publisher. He did not seem to have any great interest in journalism. He collected classic cars. He had a yacht built for tens of millions of dollars and sailed the world. Notably, scores of reporters and editors were let go before he finally sold the vastly downsized newspaper 3 years ago.
KPBS senior editor Mark Sauer. Just Call Us volunteers have been serving Thanksgiving meals to San Diego's homeless people downtown for 7 years. It all started when the group's founder didn't have a place to go for Thanksgiving. They've now served more than 26,000 meals to people in need. Freshly seasoned turkey, celery for the dressing, and carrots mixed with green beans. Most of the ingredients for this turkey feast are made from scratch, just like Grandma's. What really makes this volunteer effort different, though, is some folks are learning cooking skills for the very first time.
I don't really cook normally, so it was a good chance.
Natalle Ann Garcia came from San Francisco to volunteer.
That was a really good chop. I hope you saw that.
Along with her mother and two sisters who are working the prep line.
Really great experience to be with cutting the food and like the seasonings and the fresh ingredients. I was really impressed.
The turkeys were donated by employees from a San Diego hotel downtown. They will feed about 600 people from the Alpha Project's Winter Homeless Shelter and Neil Good Daycare Center downtown. Just Call Us volunteers come from San Diego, and beyond.
People away from their families, or they want to bring their families here. Families in town, they want to bring them and bring their kids and do something together with their family.
Angie Brewer is the volunteer coordinator. She says feeding homeless people is a big part of it, but inspiring people to volunteer is another.
Getting people involved, getting them out of their comfort zone, letting them be a part of their community and understand what's going on in their community. So for us, it's about feeding the homeless, but it's much about the volunteers as well.
So this is going to be the sausage stuffing for the turkey.
Chuck Samuelson says you just never know who you might meet.
I was out of work for almost a year, and I got tired of spending my days on Facebook asking people to hire me. So I decided to get off the couch, come down here and help Julie and her team and volunteer.
Thank you very much, Roger. Thank you, Specialty Produce.
Chef Julie Darling gave him a referral, and he's working again. She's the founder of Just Call Us Volunteers.
We're a small nonprofit, and we don't have much overhead, and the donations that we do get goes to pay the rent for the office building we're standing in, where we keep all of our supplies, and the rest of it goes to the food that we serve.
She says they'll spend about $1,300 out of pocket this year to serve Thanksgiving dinner.
See you in the morning. All right, bye.
They actually had an overwhelming number of volunteers for Thanksgiving. Just Call Us Volunteers is now looking for help preparing and serving the Christmas meal. They also provide food to the homeless throughout the year. It's been a very busy day at San Diego International Airport. About 57,000 people will pass through Lindbergh Field by the time the last flights leave late tonight. That's about 15,000 passengers more than on a typical day. The airport has extra staff to help passengers find their way around. Sunday, expected to be even more crowded. Travelers were greeted by picket lines at Los Angeles International Airport. Union members were protesting what they say are unfair labor practices by an airport contractor. While some picketers were at the terminals, others marched on major roadways leading to LAX. 13 were arrested when they refused to move out of an intersection. Black Friday shoppers could find picket lines at Walmart stores. A pro-union group is calling for informational pickets across the country. They say they're trying to raise awareness about retaliation against Walmart employees. The company concedes it has some unhappy workers.
And we encourage them to take them to their managers. Our open door policy is always there. But I have to say, this is a very small percentage of our associates. We employ more than 72,000 people in the state of California, 1.3 million people nationally, and the majority of our associates are looking forward to Black Friday sales. They're looking forward to the holiday season.
Walmart tried to block the protest, but its legal challenge won't be heard in time. Well, Americans spent $52 billion last year over Black Friday weekend and Cyber Shopping Monday. Peggy Pico finds out what holiday sales tell us about the nation's economy.
Thanksgiving comes early this year, giving shoppers a few extra days to buy holiday gifts. Joining me to talk about holiday sales and their impact on the economy is Muriel Kopik, marketing professor at San Diego State's School of Business Administration. Muriel, we heard $52 billion on Black Friday weekend last year. $52 billion. Is it going to be better this year or worse?
It'll be better this year. In fact, we expect a 4 to 5% increase. It might be as high as $54.5, $55 billion in revenues in 2012. That's
a significant increase. What factors are contributing to that specifically that would make that jump so high?
Well, I think consumer confidence it has improved. It's been tracking the last few months at significant increases over a year ago. The election being
confidence
over.
in the economy.
Confidence in the economy, confidence in just the general direction of the country. With the election being over, at least there's a degree of certainty. There's strong progress on this fiscal cliff issue. In fact, a lot of consumers do consider economic factors, and if there's going to be that kind of uncertainty, they will hold back their spending.
And they actually prepare for Christmas and holiday spending anyway. They might be saving ahead, so this isn't really going to impact them too much.
Right. They always kind of budget an amount, and generally this year they're looking at about $730, $740 per person who's shopping, and they're shopping for their family or friends or coworkers, and then they save a little bit of it discretionary income on themselves.
That would be me, guilty as charged. How accurate is the link between this holiday prediction, these holiday sales that everybody's all jazzed up about, and actually predicting the economy for next year?
Somewhat. Certainly, if there's buoyancy and consumer confidence, it's going to propel the numbers a little bit more aggressively than they would be. I think consumers, like we said, are already kind of planning for some of this, and if there's incremental increases as they track on impulse spending or the rate of spending is good early on, it'll be very positive.
Let's talk about Black Friday specifically. It got its name, I understand, because the profit margins went into the black the day after on these big sales.
Of course.
How crucial is this profit, early profit, for small retailers, let's say here in San Diego?
It's very important because a lot of times, because people go to the malls and they go to the traditional larger retailers, small retailers have always been kind of second fiddle. And with American Express supporting this Small Business Saturday concept over the last couple of years, it's really given a lot of prominence and thought to going to your main street, to your small retailer, because they always have something unique and different that a big retailer may not have. So for small retailers, being top of mind on Saturday is very important.
So they can avoid the shopping gridlock in the malls and hit them early and then move to the malls later, maybe.
Exactly. And it gives consumers a little bit of a different experience. And I think what's important about retailers now and going forward is they're really trying to create a better experience for those shoppers.
So speaking of experience, Cyber Monday, it's called that because of the deals that are typically offered on the Monday after Thanksgiving.
Right.
I am a cyber shopper, but there's a sales tax, and it can be pretty significant on places like Amazon and things like that. How is that going to impact, do you think, internet shopping this year?
You know, I think the impact of the internet sales tax on Amazon is now passed. Consumers already have factored that into their pricing decisions, and so what it will do is just maybe forestall a purchase now versus maybe waiting later in the season for a better discount.
Okay, and I have to ask you this. So there's been some controversy and talk, certainly here in our newsroom, about these stores that aren't opening at midnight or 3 in the morning. They're actually opening on Thanksgiving Day. Where'd that come from? I mean, were they successful doing that at midnight last year, so they just keep bumping it back?
In fact, retailers kind of put their toe in the water last year of opening at 8 o'clock, right after Thanksgiving dinner. Retailers like Walmart, Sears, and Target opened at 8 or 9 o'clock. Kmart last year opened all day. This year they're opening from 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, and then closing and then reopening at 8 o'clock. And so retailers are testing the idea because last year of the 226 million shoppers that went to the malls, 30 million went to the malls on Thanksgiving Day. So instead of going to a movie, they went shopping. And so it's a little bit of a different idea, and they're very cautious about when they're going to do this. But a few retailers are bold and going to be open all day, like Kmart and Banana Republic, Gap, and Old Navy.
So I guess we'll wait and see how that turns out. So
Yes.
Professor Miro Kopik, San Diego business professor, thanks so much for talking with us.
Thank you, Peggy.
Ever since fears of drug violence stemmed the flow of American visitors to Tijuana, the city's been trying to revive tourism by promoting its new food, art, and culture scenes. But Fronteras reporter Adrian Florido says the new hipper Tijuana still has vestiges of the city's older tourism economy, like plaster piggy banks.
Because of this new emerging Tijuana, today Americans waiting in line to cross back into the U.S. might have a nice bottle of Baja wine to take back. But before crossing, Martin Montellano would like you to consider another way to remember your trip. How about a plaster piggy bank? $10. That price is negotiable.
La Hello Kitty, los superhéroes, el Hombre Araña, Superman.
He has them in dozens of characters. The latest box office hits like Batman or Spider-Man. He has a Mickey Mouse, though it has a kind of creepy gaze. How about Bart Simpson or an Angry Bird? They're all displayed in neat rows at his merchant's booth. It's one among many that line a traffic island surrounded by the cars inching toward the border. Almost all the vendors here sell these piggy banks.
Como 30 años, yo creo.
I've been selling these for 30 years. My family's been in this for a long time. My dad's been selling them for 60 years, right here.
Indeed, these piggy banks have been a mainstay of Tijuana's tourist scene for decades. When times were good and visiting tourists had 100 pesos left to blow before crossing back into the U.S., why not buy a piggy bank?
I remember we used to sell up to 200, 300 in just a single weekend.
But the violence fears that drove tourists away last decade took their toll on piggy bank sales, as they did on all businesses here. Now Montellano says he's lucky to sell 40 in one weekend. Tourists are returning to Tijuana, but most of the people crossing the border are still commuters. Still, in the hilly residential neighborhoods that rise above the city's downtown, piggy bank production is churning. Behind his modest home in a working-class neighborhood, Edmundo Gonzalez employs 4 workers at his piggy bank workshop. They mix plaster and pour it into molds, then shake the mold by hand until the plaster dries. One worker peels a mold away to reveal a perfectly formed white plaster donkey. He carves a coin slot into it, then sets it out to dry along with hundreds of other curious Georges, Hello Kitties, and big birds piled in the courtyard and on wooden shelves. Nearby, another worker applies paint to nearly completed wagon wheels.
This is a way of life for people, a way to work and earn a living. Because of the competition, people do have to offer them for low prices just to sell them.
A street vendor can sell one of these piggy banks for as little as $3 and still make a profit on what he paid a wholesale producer like Gonzalez. It's not a big profit.
But they do this because it's better than working in one of the factories in the city. In a factory, you can't make as much as you can with this merchandise.
A full day's work in those factories can pay less than $10. In fact, there are piggy bank producers across Tijuana. Plaster is cheap, so that keeps production costs low. So does a general disregard for Disney and other company trademarks on all those cartoon characters. Back near the border, it's the vendors who tell producers exactly what's selling and what's not. Cristina Gonzalez, no relation to Edmundo, has a shop here.
Right now, what they're really asking for is nativity scenes. Since Christmas is coming, they want nativity scenes, Santa Clauses. That's what they're buying in big quantities.
And that's one of the benefits of having so many local producers, even if it drives prices way down. A special request can be cast in plaster within days, and stock is easier to replenish. Other goods for sale near the border, like sombreros and leather sandals, they're shipped from the interior of Mexico. Many of the blankets with Mexican prints on them, they're made in China. Yeah, China. But plaster piggy banks, well, they're produced right here in Tijuana.
It's really something that Tijuana has given to all of us.
And Edmundo Gonzalez says that's a contribution he's proud of.
It's Thanksgiving Eve, and we caught up with executive chef Bernard Guillas for some last-minute tips on preparing the perfect feast.
Hello, I'm Chef Bernard from the Marine Room Restaurant. I am at the Corona Island Farmers Market. It's just beautiful, beautiful weather. It's a perfect kickoff for Thanksgiving. The best thing is to go to your farmers market and look at what's in season. For example, look at these beautiful beets. So this is something that I would roast in my oven, and get some carrots as well. So all root vegetables. I love rosemary. Rosemary really brings it home, you know. You can put that rosemary in the cavity of the turkey. Gives a really nice flavor. But look, this is what it's all about. This is the harvest. This is the time of the year where we celebrate family. We all get together and we celebrate life. I mean, this is just beautiful. So what we have over here, beautiful red bell peppers, green beans. Green beans are really a staple during Thanksgiving. You can make it so many different ways. You can saute it with a little bit of roasted almond and butter, a little bit of shallots, and maybe a little bit of thyme. Just delicious. And even raw is delicious as well. We have cucumber. Make a nice little cucumber salad, a little bit of vinegar, extra virgin olive oil, a touch of salt, maybe some spices, chili. It would be just fantastic. And then, yes, your organic zucchini, cut them in half, and then a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of spice, and just sear it. When it's nice and golden brown, you flip it, and then you bake it. Maybe a little cheese on top. My God, this is amazing. Now the turkey, remember, you have to cook it slow. 20 minutes per pound at 325 degrees, and you have to baste and baste and baste again. The flavor, it will just make your neighbor crazy. They will knock at the door and they want to come for dinner.
That turkey looked fantastic. Unfortunately, we've still got some time for some last-minute tips from Bernard Guillas, executive chef at the Marine Room in La Jolla. Chef Bernard, welcome back.
Nice to be here. This is my favorite time of the year, you know. I mean, Thanksgiving is giving back to your community, giving back to your family, gathering. I love it.
And you give back a lot. How much turkey do you actually prepare during this holiday season over at the Marine Room?
Oh, this is not a giving back, that's a gathering. 3,000 pounds of turkeys. And all prepared very differently, so which makes it really very exciting.
Yeah, so obviously you know what you're talking about. Do you have any special flourishes for the turkey dinner this year?
Well, you know, I like to make sure that you really, I would say, butter your turkey really well. So I like to use butter and spices, for example, right on top of the turkey. I said you give it a massage just before putting it in the oven. And it's really fantastic because you're able to really use all that butter to baste, baste, and baste. If you baste every 20 minutes, you will have a fantastic turkey.
Now, I don't know a lot about cooking, but I do know that turkey can get dry very, very quickly. Which is the #1 mistake people make when cooking turkey to sort of cause that dryness, I guess?
Well, what you need to do is you make sure that you have to baste. That's one thing. You have to baste, you have to use butter. That's very important. But you need to cook it at about 325 degrees, not 350, not 375, 325. Every pound will be cooked in about 20 minutes. So if you do so, you will have no problem. And you have to baste every 20 minutes as well.
You've recommended actually setting a timer for that.
Yes, if you set a timer, it's a great way to do it. Another way to do it is you can seal the juices by starting to cook the turkey at 475 degrees for 30 minutes, and then you take the temperature down to about 325, so it seals the juices.
Let's talk stuffing here, because my dad was the designated turkey man at my house. He didn't have smokers or deep fryers like we have now, and he just did the stuffing. You know, should you cook stuffing inside the turkey? Should you cook it outside the turkey? And what's the best way to cook it?
Well, let's put it this way. The classic way to do it, and in Middle America, for example, is that they will use the stuffing and put it inside the bird. I am not crazy about it because you have all the blood and the dripping who goes into the stuffing and make it really, I mean, it's nice, but it can be very soft and mushy. I prefer to do my stuffing with, for example, brioche or sourdough bread. I put some aromatics, so you have carrot and celery and onions, and of course, some sausages.
But you do that on the side.
And this can be done on the side. So I put it into a baking dish and put it on the side, which is a great way to do it. But you still can do it the other way around. Remember, if you stuff the turkey with the stuffing itself, you will add another 40 to 45 minutes cooking time.
Actual cooking time.
Yes, indeed.
Speaking of cooking time, every year 78 million Americans get some sort of foodborne illness, and that a lot of them get it. It spikes over the holiday season, I have to say. So how can people avoid getting sick from, let's say, from the turkey specifically?
All right, so there's many different things that can be a factor to people getting ill, and they call it the 24-hour flu, of course. But the bottom line is all about temperatures. When you are brining your turkey, for example, make sure that your temperature stays below 40 degrees. When you are thawing out your turkey, don't leave it overnight outside. Buy your turkey a few days in advance and thaw it out in the refrigerator. So it will take 3-4 days to thaw it out, or buy a fresh turkey. Bottom line is when you cook your turkey, you have to make sure that the internal temperature in the thickest part of the thigh has to be 165 degrees minimum. So 165, the temperature will carry through to go to about 175, 180. If you cook it to 180 degrees, you killed your bird twice.
Okay.
It's overcooked and dry.
In the thigh. We'll check that. I want to get to I want to get to the side dishes because we saw that really amazing dish with beets. What was that?
Farmers market bounty, I call it. You go to your farmer's market, you add some beets and you have some carrots and rutabaga and some beautiful fingerling potatoes, fresh herbs,
so
garlic and onions, and you just toss everything together with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, some salt and pepper, fresh thyme, sage, and put it in the oven. That's it. But what I recommend, take the kids to the farmer's market. We have one in OB today, for example, and you will be able to really teach them what food is all about. It's a great platform to teach children how wonderful food can be for you.
I have to ask you about this recipe. I saw one of the recipes that you shared with KPBS. It involved kumquats and cranberries.
Yes.
Tell me about that relish.
Delicious. Super easy to do. Well, when it comes to cranberry relish, do your cranberry relish, a couple days in advance. So today, for example, for tomorrow is fine. Don't make it tomorrow, please, because you won't be able to get all those flavors. So cranberry. So we take, for example, 2 12 ounces of cranberry, 1 cup of brown sugar, take some red wine, put some kumquat, cook it together, maybe a little bit of ginger, a little bit of salt and pepper still. It'd be perfect. You cook it, you bring it to a boil, and they're going to pop. And then you lower it down to a simmer, then cook it for about, I would say, 5-10 minutes, and then you let it sit. Overnight, all the flavor will combine together, and it will be delicious. And not only for Turkey Day, but for your sandwich the day after Thanksgiving.
Tastes so good afterwards. Yummy. Afterwards. Well, everyone can hear that recipe or can see that recipe, and you have a couple others that you've shared with KPBS on our website, kpbs.org. But we are out of time, so Chef Bernard, thanks so much for sharing your secrets
My
today.
pleasure. It's all about sharing the love, and it's all about making sure that life is delicious.
The rest of tonight's stories are also on our website, kpbs.org/Evening Edition. Thanks for joining us. We will be off tomorrow night for the Thanksgiving holiday. We'll see you again on Friday. Good night.